You've probably seen the BBC will deliberately avoid people of certain ethnicities or religious groups, and us, the public, the vast majority of us, sort of sit there and think to ourselves, why do you cover this up? I have a message. This one's for the BBC. I understand that they're probably not going to see this. But in the unlikely event that they do, maybe we can get somewhere with something. So my message to the BBC, my harsh and bitter invitation to you. Let me start with some compliments. Number 1, global trust in crisis reporting. The BBC has been a lifeline during global and national crisis, from World War II broadcasts to real-time coverage of terror attacks and pandemics. Oh, yeah, well, you kind of fumbled that one recently. Okay, let's move on. World-class documentaries and education. Through series like Planet Earth or Blue Planet and Civilizations, the BBC has produced some of the most visually stunning, informative, and globally respected documentaries of all time. Walking with Dinosaurs was my personal favourite. I'm not too sure why you don't talk about your own British history, though. Championing the British arts. From theatre to classical music to local storytelling, the BBC has historically played a key role in nurturing homegrown talent. I'm not sure why you started race baiting and doing all of this hyper-focused work around the LGBT. No one's got a problem if you like guys or like women, but the issue is when you seem to be preaching it and pushing it. It almost looks like you've got a bit of an agenda. Legacy of innovation. From the innovation of teletext to pioneering online streaming with iPlayer, the BBC has often been at the forefront of media innovation. It sets standards for broadcast journalism, although it hasn't been keeping up to that standard, and public service media that no longer really works for the public and actually endangers people across the nation. The original programming that many networks worldwide have followed to this day. So here are some of the names that are currently running the BBC. Don't know much about them, maybe you guys can investigate for yourself. Samir Shah, Tim Davie, Sir Damon Buffini, Shumit Banerjee, Robbie Gibb, Muriel Gray, Michael Plort, Michael Smith, Caroline Thompson, Deborah Turnus, and many other executives and people of power. So you've probably seen the BBC will deliberately avoid people of certain ethnicities or religious groups, and us, the public, the vast majority of us, sort of sit there and think to ourselves, why do you cover this up? We know who you're talking about. So let me explain to you why from their perspective. Why the BBC often doesn't mention a criminal's religion. According to BBC Editorial Guidelines, Section 12, religion is treated with editorial caution. Any mention of someone's faith, with the exception of Christianity, it seems, especially when related to wrongdoing, must be editorially justified and requires senior approval to avoid unjustified offence and misrepresentation. So what they mean is that they need permission from somebody else to decide if this is going to offend somebody else. So let me give you an example. If you have someone that is Jewish at the very top and you say a comment that criticizes Judaic practices, that person at the top can say, no, I don't want that publishing to be truthful because it offends me personally. So I'd like you to remove that from the public domain, public space, or public thinking. This just robs the public of the truth, where and what to be cautious of, how we can and can't prepare ourselves to protect ourselves. So when you realize that you can't criticize or even identify due to protecting their religious background or a minority reason, what you're witnessing there is someone at a very high position of power being biased and deliberately warping information to make you hate one group more than another. What you should be told is the absolute truth, so you can be respected to make your own informed decision. The people at the top at the BBC do not think you're capable of making decisions. So if you have a religion that teaches people to hurt children or dehumanize women, for example, the BBC will hide it for you so your followers can continue operating and doing that evil act, regardless of what religious views you actually have. Guidelines on harm and offence. Specifically, that content likely to cause offence based on religion. It must be justified and handled sensitively. The aim is to avoid stoking religious hatred or hostility under UK law. Religious Hatred Act 2006. So, in case you realise a religion in your country wants to murder a bunch of people, if you realise that, the BBC will suppress that information, that the public have all realised this. Just in case you, the public, band together and you, the public, go and solve the problem yourself. That's why they hide it. And they'll hide it under the guise of, we're being religiously peaceful, which we all know at this point is not very honest. If you work at the BBC and you're too scared to call someone out because of their religious views, you are a coward. You enable these wrongdoers to operate without ethical criticism. So your religion hatred act doesn't work in the slightest, and it in fact made the British people fueled with more hatred than ever. Critics argue that this results in a timid and selective coverage, which we all know takes place, where certain groups' religions, these religions that sometimes teach to harm children and dehumanize other people, will be deliberately played down or even omitted to avoid the BBC receiving backlash. So basically, they're too scared to say, oi, that guy's a monster, and he's a monster because these people over here trained him to be a monster. And then if the BBC say that, they're scared of getting in trouble for being honest about that. I don't understand. We all know the BBC likes defending kiddie fiddlers. I just didn't expect you to still be doing it after being caught. Good to know that the same people that shit the bed back then are still in the same position of power now, and they're still driving the vehicle. Like, it's crazy that they've managed to worm their way to stay forever. It's almost like got a little country club going. And even if we catch you out being a little prick or a monster, you'll still keep them on board because you're all in the same little fucking group. Go and investigate them. Go find out someone that's been in the BBC for a long time and just follow their career back to when they first joined and all the shit that they got up to. And you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. In essence, these individuals and their departments have been repeatedly implicated in the control, omission, and misrepresentation of news for decades, prioritizing institutional safety over public interest, and making editorial decisions that shield controversial stories from full exposure. In effect, they have been protecting the most evil people in the country right now. The British Broadcasting Corporation, once the voice of a nation at war, the crackling words of stiff-lipped defiance, is now a throne of rotten lies. So let the people remember, it was they who turned the blind eye while Jimmy Savile preyed on the innocent. Not only did they hide the truth, they gave him a stage, hidden corridors, personal dressing rooms, and of course, children. And when the reckoning came, they shuffled their desks around, shifted blame, and silenced the very few brave enough to actually speak out. And this is not an accident. This is not oversight. This is an active choice to betray the public. Evil, calculated, and of course, gutless. Today, the same institution, draped in its own exaltation, shields the truth yet again. Grooming gangs, rape rings, murder in broad daylight. Crimes committed in our own towns and villages, often by men who laugh at our laws and despise our traditions. And what does the BBC have to say? Well, they say nothing. They hide their names, blur their faces, and of course, obscure the ideologies. We the people already know who they are, what they're about. Why do you do this? To protect the people? No, it's to protect yourselves from controversy, from backlash, from losing favour with a system that sold its own soul for multicultural optics at the expense of thousands of little girls in this country. In the days of old, the prophets cried out against wicked kings, and they spoke with fire on their tongues. And if the Lord is the same yesterday, today, and forever, I say this: you, the BBC, deserve to be destroyed completely. The institutions of this nation, built by the sweat of our forefathers, are collapsing under the weight of cowardice and compromise. And the BBC, this polished oracle of this regime, dares to try and call itself impartial or peaceful. To the executives who knew and did nothing, to those still in power, walking clean in your fine press suits while the truth drowns under paperwork, I say this with the fury of this country's people. Your time of reckoning is coming, not by sword, not by fire, but by the voice of the people rising up. We see you, we remember what you've done, and with every breath and with every broadcast, with every word of truth spoken in defiance, we, the people, will drag your sins into the light. And this won't be vengeance, it will be restoration. And it begins with a single sentence from us, the people. We won't listen to anything you have to say to us anymore. If you say it's up, we're going to assume it's down. Now, I don't want to see the BBC torn down. I want to see it restored. Because the BBC, at its best, has been a lighthouse. A voice in the dark. A beacon that once united a weary Britain through war, hardship, and national triumph. It has the reach, the talent, the legacy to do something truly good with itself. But only if it's able to remember who it is meant to serve. Right now, the bonfire that you have been tending to for so long is failing. You only have embers remaining. Trust is broken. The people know what's been hidden, what's been excused, and who you are protecting. From shameful cover-ups of the past to the silence of today when our daughters have been crying out for justice. The BBC has too often chosen cowardice over courage, a European narrative over direct and literal truth. But I do believe in repentance. I believe in accountability. I believe that the BBC, if it dares to reckon with its own sins, could once again become a force for the people. Not over them. A lighthouse. And yet, if it refuses to change, if it keeps ignoring the cries of the people of this nation, it will become a symbol of everything Britain resents. Once the hatred takes root, no tower of yours will ever stand again. You are spelling your own ruin. So I say this: step into the light, be bold, actually speak the truth, and try standing with the people, or prepare to be judged by an enraged nation. Britain is rising, and we won't tolerate your shit anymore. So let's say, hypothetically, someone at the top hears this video and decides to pursue actually cleaning the BBC from the top down. But you are unsure what to do next, because you also want to preserve the image of the BBC. I know what you need to do and say. It's 5 simple steps. Step 1, admit that you fucked up. Take some ownership. Take some ownership for what you have done to thousands of people across this country. Step 2, tell the truth about your mistakes when you make them. It gives us, the people, a chance to forgive you instead of letting our resentment and distrust fester over decades. Even good people make mistakes after all. Step 3. Actually want the British people, and I'm not talking the British people, I'm talking the actual British people of this country, actually want to see them win. You always tell us war is around the next corner. Well, how about you start acting like you actually want us to win that war, instead of us bending the knee to European powers who have openly admitted to hating us. Stop bending the knee to foreign investments who actively seek to destroy and harm our public's children. Stop bending the knee to a tyrannical government that is telling you to censor your own people. And stop bending the knee to a oath-broken king that's no longer impartial when it comes to political views. Actually be reporters. Become the lighthouse of this country. Step 4. Report on the news. Stop preaching your moral lessons. We don't need moral lessons from you, who has sacrificed children to evil men just so you can avoid blame and repercussion. So, report on what's happening and shut the fuck up. It's that simple. So, for step 5, this is for everyone else that works the BBC. Actually support real justice. All the people who work in the BBC that are not at the top, stop complying when they tell you to edit someone's name out even after that person has stolen the life of an innocent child. Be the example of justice in the system you work in. If you need to silence a rape victim to protect a minority group of adults, you are evil. Call it out as a community. Don't tolerate it for a paycheck, then say you are the good guys to anyone. If you do comply with tyrannical oppression of the truth, even a truth that offends you, if you comply with silencing that offensive truth, you are no different than any other dictator. We the people shouldn't even acknowledge you if you continue to be a dictator, and that would apply to any member of this country, whether you are a dictator as a police set, whether you are a dictator as a soldier, whether you are a dictator as a family man at home. We shouldn't listen to dictators, and we should outright ignore what they tell us. The truth should be bitter, and it's often painful, but we the people, we can handle it. I believe the BBC is worth saving. The BBC needs to make a choice that will determine its longevity going forward. The resurrection of Great Britain is going to happen right in front of you. So you can choose to either be a lighthouse for that resurrection or a funeral pyre for the past. We don't need you. You need us. And we the people, particularly millennials and Gen Z, the target audience that you know you can't control, have no interest in you. Your power is slipping, and soon it will plummet. So choose, BBC, lighthouse for the resurrection, or funeral pyre for the old dictatorship that will come to its knees. Thank you for listening, and I hope you tune in for my next video.